The funeral of decorated war hero Commander Nathan Hale was the talk of the city. Media channels called it a tribute to courage. Military jets flew overhead. The flag was at half-mast, and medals shone under the sun. It was a farewell filled with honor, at least for those inside the fence. But at the edge of the cemetery, leaning on an old wooden cane, stood Marcus Dean, a man whose name had been erased long ago. His coat was from 1969, his hair silver, and in his hand was a pressed white carnation. He wasn't invited. He wasn't welcome. But he was, therefore, a promise. The guards told him to step back. He didn't fight. He just waited. Then, from the distance, Captain Jenna Brooks, who had studied Hale's old war logs, noticed the patch on Marcus's arm. She turned pale. "Sir, I think he's the one who pulled Hale from the minefield, that patches from Operation Frostbite." The high-ranking officer, General Morrison, walked across the grass. Everything went silent. He opened the gate himself, walked toward Marcus, and saluted him in front of everyone. People looked confused. Then came the scene that made reporters lower their cameras. General Morrison handed over Commander Hale's urn to Marcus and said only one sentence. "He didn't want to leave until you came." Marcus Dean stood perfectly still, the urn of Commander Hale pressed to his chest, as the world around him vanished into silence, except for the roar in his ears. The roar of gunfire from that endless night in the Mekong Valley, a memory he had locked away for decades. It was the 34th night of a siege that left soldiers hopeless and radio lines dead. That's when the last signal had come in. "Commander Hale is down. 2 men out there, they won't survive the night." Marcus had heard it, and something in his gut wouldn't let him wait without asking permission. He crawled through mud, smoke, and fire, breathing through a torn cloth, dodging minds and voices speaking in a language he feared but respected. He reached them, Hale unconscious, and Sergeant Linwood bleeding from his side. He dragged them both back, his arms shaking, his mind repeating, "Don't let go. Don't let go." And somehow, they survived. No one knew who brought them back. Marcus never told a soul, not even his own children. But now, in the stillness of this funeral, a figure approached Sergeant Linwood, older now, walking slowly with a cane. He stopped in front of Marcus. "I found the letter," he said softly. "Commander Hale wrote it years ago, for you. You saved me twice, Marcus, that night, and every day I remembered it." And then Linwood turned to the gathered crowd and said, "He didn't just carry us through fire. He gave us back our lives." People stared, realizing this man wasn't just a guest. He was the reason the general was alive at all. And slowly, every officer rose, not for duty, not for rank, but for the quiet warrior who had once walked through hell without being seen. Ceremony had been planned to the last second, each flag positioned, each name ready to be announced. But what no one planned for was the moment when Marcus Dean stepped out of the crowd, walking slowly toward the center aisle, holding the urn of the man whose life he had saved decades ago, not as a soldier in uniform, but as a man fulfilling the kind of promise that lives only in silence. The quiet fell like a curtain. Even the sound crew stopped what they were doing. Sergeant Linwood, who had read Hale's final letter aloud earlier, simply nodded and pointed to the stage, saying, "He said this day wasn't for him, which was for you." Marcus walked alone. Not a single officer saluted until he passed. And then, row by row, every soldier rose from their chair, hand to brow. Standing not for command, but for truth, he placed the urn gently beside the folded flag, and, in front of everyone, General Morrison took the microphone, cleared his throat, and said, "If not for Marcus Dean, this hero would have died forgotten in the field." But he didn't, because Marcus was the kind of soldier history doesn't record, but memory never forgets. The press lowered their cameras. Families stood with their hands on their hearts. And in that moment, ceremony didn't belong to rank or ribbons. It belonged to the man they once left off the list. 1 year later, in the heart of Texas, a quiet rest home opened for veterans who had no family left. Above its door, carved into stone, were the words, "The Marcus Dean Haven for the ones who came back quiet." and Marcus. He visited often, always alone, always bringing a white carnation.